treasure of 35 gold bars in her home guard. Dear viewers, welcome back to the latest episode of Top Secret. Dear friends, there are people who pursue only one extremely dangerous profession their entire lives: gold mining. Among them, the successful ones are few and far between, while the rest lead obscure, unfortunate, and impoverished lives. There are those who spend their whole lives away from home, hoping to change their fate and return to their homeland, but it's all in vain. Some even lose their lives in treacherous jungles and poisonous waters. However, there are also those who, without engaging in this profession, still luckily stumble upon a large amount of gold, like Mrs. A. This woman, over 60 years old, now has much grayer hair, but her face looks less gaunt and less sallow than before. Mrs. A confided that she has cleared the gold debt from years ago, but she still occasionally feels frustrated by the mysteries that remain unanswered to this day. In early 2000, after divorcing, Mrs. Nguyen T. Bay cleared a patch of wasteland in Nong Tri Hanlin, Phu Long Town, Han Thuan Bac, Vinh Thuan. Living alone and saddened by the absence of her husband and children, Mrs. Bay felt ill repeatedly. One afternoon, she went behind the house to look for passion flower roots, wrapped them in a bag, and boiled water. Mrs. Bay was dazzled by pulling out the roots, as a cluster of gold bars hidden underground came up with them. As if hypnotized, she used her hands to dig and discovered a beautifully cast iron horse, taller and longer than 2 arm spans. On the right flank of the horse, a series of numbers was deeply engraved, 1412 the mystery. Using leaves to cover it up, she waited until dark before laboriously carrying it inside to hide in the house. Under the flickering yellow light of an oil lamp, the 2 artifacts still shone brightly, making her feel cold. She used the only blanket to cover them, wrapped them in several layers, and stuffed them under the bed. Over the next few nights, Mrs. Bay diligently dug up the area of the house. After removing the old layer of the tomb, she retrieved another horse, another cluster of gold bars, and 9 other artifacts, including 4 human-shaped statues, one of which was a large statue 40 centimeters tall, 3 worship tablets, a cluster of 6 fruits, and an insect. According to Mrs. Bay's estimate, all 13 artifacts weighed easily up to 100 kilograms. By the end of 2001, due to mounting debts from being unable to work and having to stay at home guarding the stolen assets, Mrs. Bay secretly looked for iron. Mrs. Bay whispered to a fabric merchant in Phan Piet that she had in her possession a gold horse weighing about 31 kilograms and a cluster of 12 gold bars weighing 2.8 kilograms. This person demanded to see the 2 artifacts before agreeing to help hide the iron. The next day, the merchant brought a man, introduced as VL. An antique expert, Mr. L used a steel saw to cut a small piece from the right front leg of the horse, took it to Phan Piet for analysis, and announced that the horse was cast from a bronze alloy. Mr. L also confirmed that the number 1412 on the right flank of the horse indicated the artifact was cast in the 13th century. The 3 joyfully sketched a beautiful future once they sold these 2 artifacts. Mrs. Bay promised generous rewards to the other 2 if the 2 items sold for 35 to 40 pails of gold, as confirmed by Mr. L. A week later, Mr. L brought a well-dressed man to meet Mrs. Bay, introduced as M from Ho Chi Minh City, to view the goods. After carefully examining the 2 artifacts with a magnifying glass, turning them over repeatedly, Mr. M agreed to buy them for 35 pails of gold. At Mrs. Bay's request, Mr. M had to buy the gold from a gold shop familiar to Mrs. Bay, and Mrs. Bay was responsible for transporting the 2 artifacts exactly at 2 a.m. on November 6, 2001, to Mr. L's private home. The transaction went smoothly. True to her word, Mrs. Bay paid Mr. L and the merchant a commission of 7 pails of gold. Needless to say, Mrs. Bay was overjoyed to possess such a large fortune. Upon returning home, she immediately sold 4 pails of gold to pay off her debts. The remaining gold, she placed in a cloth bag tied around her waist to keep it safe. Perhaps throughout the life of Mrs. Nguyen T. Bay, that was the first and last night she slept with such a large amount of gold wrapped around her. The next morning, just as she stepped out to the village entrance, Mrs. Bay was unexpectedly stopped by Mr. L, who demanded she go with her to Phan Piet to clarify the commission slip. At Mr. L's house, the 2 sides had a loud argument, leading the local police to intervene, temporarily seizing the artifacts and all the gold they were disputing. The case was subsequently transferred to Han Thuan Bac Police for handling according to their jurisdiction. Immediately, Han Thuan Bac Police issued a decision to prosecute the case and confiscate the stolen goods. In addition to the 2 gold-colored metal artifacts, Han Thuan Bac Police also seized the gold disputed by Mrs. Bay and Mr. L, totaling over 200. On October 13, 2003, Mr. Tran Andong, chairman of the People's Committee of Han Thuan Bac District, issued an administrative penalty decision fining Mrs. Nguyen $1 million, along with all the gold, for engaging in the illegal trade of state-prohibited goods. Disagreeing, Mrs. A filed a complaint. The complicated matter dragged on until the end of 2004, i.e., 3 years later, still unresolved. In early 2005, after receiving input from the chairman of the People's Committee of Binh Thuan Province, the entire case was transferred to the Investigation Police Department of Binh Thuan. In early June 2006, after multiple contacts, a group of people approached Mrs. A, posing as antique buyers. They used an iron saw to collect metal powder from the legs of the golden horse and came back for metal analysis in a reputable gold shop in Pan. The results showed that the yellow metal powder above was copper. Still not giving up hope, Mrs. A called a silversmith she knew from Pan Thea to bring metal analysis tools to test the 13 taels of gold she was keeping. The silversmith tested many times and then tiredly concluded that there was no gold. Gold is a display item but has a strong attraction to humans. Looking at poor Mrs. A, who at that time looked more than 10 years older, one could see how gold had tormented her after years of nurturing hope and then disappointment. Not to mention that this very treasure caused family conflicts, leading to family separation and suspicion of our relatives. Mrs. A confided that she still keeps those golden statues as the most precious memories of her life. Because now, Mrs. Bay has moved to live in Hanoi with her son, whom she and her son used to suspect each other because of the buried treasure from the ancient tomb. It's better to be poor but have mother and children together, the woman said as if summarizing the experience of her life. Now, the golden dream of the past is considered to have shattered like a bubble bursting. According to the Appraisal Council, the two artifacts of Mrs. Nguyen are metal-plated with gold using crude casting technique. The golden horse statue is described as 43 centimeters high, 47 centimeters wide, with uneven legs, and both artifacts are newly cast items. The council concluded that the above artifacts are not antiques but are all new artifacts, with no historical or artistic value. As for the metal composition, it needs to be determined by a specialized agency. Based on this conclusion, the police agency returned the yellow-colored artifacts to Mrs. A. Because the Appraisal Council's request was only to appraise historical and artistic value, and not to determine the nature of the metal. Mrs. A continues to hope that the statues she is keeping are pure gold. Stories of people finding gold are not rare. The story of Lo Van Nui, Yu Van Hao, Yan Hua Kangyan, Tuong Guang, who suddenly received a gold nugget weighing 2.1 kilograms in 2009, remains a hot topic to this day, that many people in the Highland area still discuss. However, whenever the story of receiving the gold nugget is mentioned, the owner of the aforementioned asset can only sigh deeply because of the tragic consequences since becoming wealthy. Mr. Lo Pai Shen, chairman of the People's Committee of Yan Hua Kangyan. Many people mistakenly think that Louis found the gold alone. In reality, he and 9 relatives went mining in Kep Ku for months before finding that gold nugget. It was truly heaven helping them, as all 9 families were in very difficult circumstances. Currently, Louis' family has given up gold mining and works on the fields. Life is full of difficulties, having to worry about each meal. Mr. B.Y. Van Tian, of the elderly associate, Louis received gold but is not better off than anyone. In fact, life is even harder now. A house quite fully equipped with expensive wooden furniture, a refrigerator, TV, and a majestic bed cabinet, but the homeowner's attitude is not very happy. I really don't. Four years ago, people spread rumors that I received a 2.1 kilograms gold nugget. But in fact, it was the common achievement of a group of 9 people after more than a week of climbing mountains, wading streams, enduring In the group that went mining with me at that time, 2 people were from Tan Phuong County, Tuong Duong District. The rest were relatives living in the same locality. After attaining the gold nugget, we traveled 50 kilometers of mountain roads to Hoa Binh town and sold it for over $1 billion. That money was divided into 13 shares. The other 8 people each got 1 share, while I got 5 shares, equivalent to nearly $400 million. The reason I received a larger amount than the others is because I was the first to discover the gold nugget. At that time, holding the money in hand, I was overjoyed because my family's impoverished lives suddenly changed, becoming a real tycoon in the mountainous town of Tuong Duong. On the happy day, I slaughtered several pigs to treat the villagers. Next, the thatched house where the whole family was temporarily living on the mountainside was demolished, and the land was used to build a new, sturdier house. My long-cherished dream of having a warm and harmonious home finally came true. At that time, including both labor costs and money to buy wood to build a house, I had to spend over $200 million. With the remaining money, the couple took a bus to Waldon town, to Longguang to buy essential household items, such as a sewing machine, television, and, after that, Lloyd also hired a car to take the family down to Vin City, Puelo Beach and Aegean to have fun and eat to their heart's content. Something they had never dared to dream of before. At the same time, the family did not forget to invest in a few new sets of clothes for the whole family and for relatives. During the Lunar New Year of 2010, Lloyd's family had the biggest tent celebration in the village, making everyone who saw it envious. However, after doing all that, the remaining money was not much. After receiving the gold, Lloyd and Lloyd's family had a more comfortable life. But that joy quickly faded when Lloyd began to encounter situations that were sometimes tearful, sometimes loud, even having to live in a state of constant fear and apprehension. Many times when going to town to buy things, the family members were overcharged compared to others. Everyone thought I was very rich, but the reality was not like that. My family has suffered a lot because of the gossip. Lloyd is frustrated when recalling that period. Lo Van Oy added that since having the gold, many people from unfamiliar places have come asking for alms. Many days, the family was mentally harassed because strangers bothered us all day. Mr. Oy recounted that initially, a few poor people from other communes came asking for alms, and out of pity, he gave them. But somehow, rumors spread, and a few days later, people from all over flocked to ask for help, turning Oy's family life upside down. After the noisy period about the heaven-sent fortune, the Oy couple discussed continuing to invest in business. At the beginning of 2010, Oy didn't encounter luck like the previous year. Oy used the remaining nearly $100 million to invest in machinery and equipment for gold prospecting work. However, heaven did not favor Oy a second time, after spending a pile of money. The final result the group obtained was only handfuls of black soil, and the machinery became increasingly severely damaged. From then on, Oy's business went into a disastrous decline. Throughout this year, my family's annual income has been less than $1 million. Previously, when receiving the gold, the family was removed from the commune's list of poor households. Now, life is difficult, and my wife and children have no money to buy clothes. But because of the reputation of being rich, because of finding gold, the villagers no longer consider my family a poor house. Recently, I ran to the village head's house, even went to the commune to explain, hoping, but they still did not agree. Oy said frankly, Ms. Yan, Oy's wife, always feels anxious and self-conscious whenever she goes to the market, afraid of being overcharged while actually having no money. Even Oy's eldest son, born in 2005, was affected, often being stopped by schoolmates on the road asking for money to buy candy. One day, as soon as he came home from school, the child came crying with a bloody nose and told the story. Dad, I was beaten up by those kids because I didn't. Your family is the richest in the village now, yet you won. Lo Van Uy told the story with an uncomfortable mood. That is the sincere confession of Lo Van Uy after 4 years of living with the incident of receiving a huge gold nugget. Because according to this man, that sudden change caused not only himself but his whole family to suffer. Lo Van Uy recounted that in the past 2 years, he had to stop working deep in the forest panning for gold because the newly invested machinery was severely damaged and the money earned was only a few small. The money from the lucky sale and division of the 2.1 kilograms gold nugget in 1 yuan and his brothers gradually dwindled. When the last coins eventually left one by one, Uy had to return to selling corn and cassava from the fields. In recent years, the couple has gone every day to the forest, 4 hours from home, to build a hut and work the fields. At the beginning of each week, the couple sends their 2 young children to their maternal grandmother's family to be looked after, then works until the weekend before returning. Week after week, their work simply revolves like that. Current life, though poor, is better than being bothered by others all day, with some even threatening to smash up the house. My wife and I just want to live peacefully like other villagers. Being famous is troublesome, and being asked questions is very tiring. Miss Yen, Mr. Wee's wife, shared. However, that simple wish did not come true when years of harsh weather caused the cornfields and cassava patches of Wee's family to be completely lost. Uy said, some families only harvested a few paddy baskets of rice, and selling it wouldn't even cover the cost of. After a moment of silence, the man continued speaking. Just go outside and look. Even the pond embankment behind my house that we planned to build for years hasn't been done. Now we don't even have enough for daily food and drink. Where would we get the money for other things as people think? My wife and I are planning to sell this house and build a small temporary one just to get by day by day. With continuous crop failures, my wife and I can't hold on anymore, while our poor household status was cut off several years ago. Now, what we worry about most is the future of our two small children who are at the age to eat and study, with no money for tuition. We're like Kwang Sun Town and Duc Bin Tay Town. Though belonging to two different districts of food and province, they border each other and share the same road. More notably, in these two localities, there are many wealthy people who once found gold in very large quantities. However, alongside cases where gold changed lives, not a few encountered misfortune. Even to the point of their houses being destroyed. In Kwang Sun Town, there is a man nearly 60 years old who is constantly apprehensive about something. According to local rumors, he is the person who received the most heavenly fortune in his locality. Recalling that story of luck and risk, his family had many children and only farm, so life was very difficult. During the lean season, he had to scramble for each meal to feed his large family. And he worked as a hired laborer all year round, but hunger and poverty persistently clung to him. In that hardship, he only wished he would win some lottery to change his life. But the family was poor, never once bought a lottery ticket to change their fate. Working as a hired laborer, who knows when they would have enough to eat, let alone dream of changing their life, he said frankly. However, perhaps because fate pitied his poverty and gave him a chance to change his life. That he received a whole box of gold hidden very carefully inside a machine gun ammunition box. He recounted that time he was hired to go to the stream, Zondak Commune, Sunhua District, about 5 kilometers from home, to work. Around noon, while waiting for the rice to cook, he went into a forest area to rest his eyes under the shade of a tree. In his half-sleep, he dreamed he picked up gold under a rock crevice. Waking up, he rubbed his eyes, deeply regretting the beautiful dream. He stood up, took a few steps, then his foot hit something hard. Curious, he brushed the dry leaves aside. Before his eyes was a small ammunition box lying in a hollow. He pulled it out and opened the lid, his eyes wide with astonishment upon discovering it was filled with gold and many valuable pieces of jewelry. After a moment of composure, he quietly hid the treasure again and went to eat with everyone as usual. From that moment on, he was both happy and worried. While working, he occasionally glanced at the spot where he hid the treasure. He only wished the work would end quickly so he could bring that fortune home. Waiting until night, he then stealthily got up, packed the ammunition box into a sack, tied it tightly to a bicycle rack, and pedaled straight home. Arriving home, he quietly pulled his wife into the room and gently opened the ammunition box for her to admire. Seeing such a large fortune, Mrs. 19 Low was utterly bewildered. That whole night, the couple dug a hole under the bed to bury the fortune they had found. From the day he shared that huge fortune, Tran and No had a completely different life. No recounted, the day we found the fortune, my wife and I lost sleep and appetite for a whole month out of fear. In my whole life, I had never held an amount of money larger than $10 million. Association to get capital for developing the family. Holding just 10 million dong, I was already trembling, let alone a whole chest of gold like that. But the most difficult problem was how to legalize that gold without surprising everyone. And also to prevent bad people from coming to inquire. No smiled mysterious. Mr. and Mrs. No thought but didn't know how to soften the story of finding this gold. Finally, the couple went to work as hired laborers daily, bought lottery tickets, and rented home made a noted at a fortune rack. After buying many lottery tickets, finally my wife and I won a first prize ticket. On the day the results were announced, Mr. and Mrs. No held a small party, inviting neighbors to share the joy and also to announce their family from now on was free from poverty because they had received heavenly fortune. All the neighbors were happy for the couple to have escaped poverty. But no one knew that the lottery winnings were nothing compared to the gold Mr. No had picked up from the rock crevice that day. After successfully legalizing that unexpected gold, Mr. No and his wife no longer had to toil day after day as hired laborers. Because they'd been working with their hands in the dirt, the couple bought a plot of land to open a farm in Karampa Commune, right next to the Fuyan district, less than 10 kilometers from their home, replacing their shabby house with a solid, spacious one. Over time the locals vaguely guessed that the couple had found gold in that forest section and went there to make offerings to the forest. Mrs. Tran Ping-Luo, Mr. No's wife, discreetly at that time, there was a lot of gossip about my husband and hiding gold. However, my husband insisted on keeping this matter hidden. instructing the children and relatives to absolutely keep it secret, and to be careful with their movements in order against bad people. Yet in his heart, he always carried a lingering worry, unexpectedly having gold, but I am haunted by it. Because after all, it was the sweat and tears of others who had to bitterly leave it behind due to the war years ago. If we enjoy others' fortune without sharing it, sooner or later heaven and Buddha will take it back. One cannot endlessly enjoy unearned blessings. Therefore, since receiving this heaven sent fortune, Mr. No and his wife diligently go to the temple on the 15th and 21st of each month. The couple brings incense and fruits to the forest ash to make offerings. Not only that, the couple also regularly helps their neighbors. There are people in difficult circumstances, living in this world. Blessings must be shared, or else heaven will take them back in no time. Being fortunate to have some wealth, one must know how to share with others, otherwise disasters are hard to predict. That's what we say, but my husband and I still fear unforeseen calamities. Mr. Doe said he had heard many stories of families torn apart, children eating misfortune, couples separated by life and death because of finding gold, so he is very according to his wife, many nights he has nightmares, waking up drenched in sweat. One night she suddenly woke up and saw him talking and laughing to himself. She understood that the wealth of gold and silver haunts him in every dream like that.